I know what you're thinking. Which is the best? The recently announced Sigma 24mm f2 DGDN or the Zeiss Batis 25mm f2? Well, today we're going to find out. When placed side by side, initially there's not a huge amount separating these two lenses. They're both pretty much the same height and weight, although, yeah, granted, the Zeiss is the girthier option of the two.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
However, when it comes to build quality and just the general feel of these lenses, they really couldn't be any more different. The Sigma features an all-metal build with a nice array of manual buttons and dials, including an MF to AF switch, a textured metal focus ring, and also a manual aperture dial that clicks at every third of a stop. There's also an automatic mode for this dial so that the aperture value can be controlled using the back of your camera instead. The Zeiss, on the other hand, has a predominantly plastic feel to it, and other than a nicely rubberized focus ring, it really doesn't have any other manual controls. So switching between manual focus and autofocus has to be done using the back of your camera. Rather uniquely though, this Zeiss lens features an OLED display that can denote the focus distance or the current f-stop. One advantage the Zeiss does have is that it features a weather and dust sealed construction, complete with a rubber O-ring around the metal lens mount. Although the Sigma features a rubber O-ring, the actual body of this lens is not weather sealed. So it's worth bearing in mind that it won't be protected from all of the drawling you're going to be doing whilst caressing its sleek metal finish. Bodily fluids aside, the manual focus rings on these lenses both operate nice and smoothly with no noticeable lag or delay, meaning that they're great for refining critical focus or performing focus pulls when recording in video mode. Price is certainly a dividing factor with these two lenses. Unsurprisingly, the Sigma is the cheaper of the two options, priced at £549 or $669, whereas currently on Amazon, the Zeiss Batis is priced at £849 or $1,296. So needless to say, when scoring for price, the Sigma is definitely the better value for money option and therefore gains the early lead. In terms of build quality, although I personally think that the Sigma feels like the more solid option in the hand, especially with its all-metal construction, I can't ignore the fact that the Zeiss comes with proper weather and dust sealing, which I know for most landscape photographers is largely considered a must-have feature. So with all of that in mind, I think both lenses deserve a point. For handling though, I am going to award the point to the Sigma, as I found that having quick access to manual shortcuts on the lens body was much more efficient than having to constantly dive into the quick menus on the back of my camera when switching between focusing modes. In good lighting conditions, both lenses were quick to focus with absolutely no signs of hunting. In low light conditions, the AF speed with both of these lenses slowed ever so slightly, but again, neither of them showed any signs of hunting. When taking photos of Alice walking towards the camera shooting wide open at f2, both lenses provided a near faultless performance, with the overwhelming majority of the shots I took being sharp and in focus. So after seeing the test results, I think both lenses deserve a point apiece in this round. Switching over to video mode, and both lenses were able to track Alice walking towards the camera at a regular pace, even when shooting wide open at f2. Repeating this test but at a faster pace yielded the same results, with both of the lenses managing to keep locked onto Alice throughout the walk. When it comes to AF noise, the Zeiss really doesn't make any noise at all. Although the Sigma is very quiet, there was a faint purring noise that was picked up by our camera's built-in microphone. Both lenses unfortunately suffer from focus breathing, so this might be a bit of a turn off for videographers who hate this kind of thing. So at the end of this round, both lenses deserve a point as they perform almost identically when shooting in video mode. We're provided with more almost identical results in our bokeh balls test, with both lenses creating nice round orbs at the center, which slowly turn into cat-sized shapes towards the edges of the frame. Though I do have to admit that the orbs at the edges of the frame on the Zeiss image are noticeably more round than the Sigma, so if having the roundest bokeh balls possible is really your thing, then the Zeiss is the one to go for. In terms of general bokeh quality, again, the results are almost identical. If you're really going to start pixel peeping, then potentially you could make an argument to say that the Zeiss image is marginally softer than the Sigma, but honestly, most people would never be able to tell the difference. So when it comes to scoring in this round, I am going to have to be very picky here and give the point to the Zeiss, because technically it does produce the nicer looking bokeh balls, and you could, like I said, make the argument that it has a very, very marginally softer bokeh quality overall, but this is a very, very close call. cool. When it comes to flaring, the results are almost identical, with a noticeable amount of ghosting and some artifacting. Though both lenses do come included with lens hoods to help reduce flaring if this is something you want to try and avoid. Shooting our lens chart wide open at f2, both lenses suffer from barrel distortion, however the Sigma is noticeably worse. At the centre, the results are practically identical in terms of sharpness and contrast, with both lenses creating tack-sharp results. At the corners, it's more of the same, with both lenses displaying impressive edge-to-edge sharpness. Shooting at f2 at these lenses' minimum focusing distances, although they're able to focus at near identical distances, when you zoom in it becomes immediately clear that the Zeiss is able to produce a much sharper image. In comparison, the Sigma's results are much more smudgy with signs of ghosting too. On a longitudinal chromatic aberration test, both lenses fared pretty well, with the Sigma displaying a touch of green fringing at the top and magenta at the bottom, whilst the Zeiss lens shows some teal fringing at the top and red colouring below the area of sharp focus. With the results being so closely matched throughout this test, at this point it will be no real shock to hear that both lenses are capable of capturing striking looking images that are tack sharp and full of contrast even when shooting wide open. Neither option displayed any kind of colour casting in the raw images, so this means that all of my images had true to life colours straight out of the camera. When selecting my final images in Lightroom, I was absolutely spoilt for choice, with both of these lenses providing me with tack-sharp results every single time. And at this point, I really am struggling to find anything negative to say about either of these lenses. Crucially though, we need to award the final points for image quality, taking into consideration both the lens chart results and the real-life images. Like most of this head-to-head battle, it's been incredibly close, but ultimately the final point has to go to the Zeiss. Although these lenses are pretty much identical in terms of sharpness when shooting from a distance, the Zeiss features less barrel distortion and is clearly the better lens when shooting close up, which technically makes it the superior option of the two. So which one should you buy? Well, to me that's pretty simple. If having a lens that's fully weather sealed is an absolute must for you, then definitely spend the additional money and get the Zeiss. However, if you can live without the full weather sealing, then definitely pick up the new Sigma, because for the money, it's a fantastic lens that's certainly not going to disappoint.